If acute drinking is like splashing wine on your router, chronic drinking is like corroding the whole motherboard. So next time someone says alcohol is an aphrodisiac, remember, you're basically throwing tequila in your router and expecting a stronger signal. It might feel fun in the moment, but eventually the whole system crashes. Let's start with a question that cuts through the fog of wine glass clinks and barroom bravado. Does alcohol actually help your sex life or hurt it? For centuries, alcohol has been tied to romance, seduction, and sensuality. It's in the date night cocktail, the champagne toast, the infamous beer goggles phenomenon. It lowers inhibitions and makes people feel bold, spontaneous, flirtatious. But while it might make you feel more in the mood, here's the twist. Feeling aroused is not the same as being aroused. And the gap between what your mind thinks and what your body actually does is where alcohol creates problems. Think of your sexual system as a Wi-Fi signal. Your brain is the router, broadcasting desire. Your genitals are the device trying to receive that signal. When everything's working, arousal is fast, fluid, and responsive. But when you drink, it's like spilling beer on the router. Sure, the light might still be blinking. The router name might show up, but the signal, it's delayed, spotty, or just plain down. You might still feel desire, but the message never makes it to your body. Today, we're unpacking what alcohol actually does to libido, in the short term and long term. What's happening when you're buzzed and can't perform? Why does heavy drinking damage desire itself over time? And how much is too much if you actually care about your sex life? Spoiler, the research is clear. Alcohol may help you feel more open or eager, but it often blocks your ability to follow through. So let's start with the short term. What happens in the moment when you drink and try to get aroused? Imagine this, you're on a date, feeling great, and had a few drinks, and things are heating up. Mentally, you're all in. Physically, not so much. This isn't your imagination. In a 2006 lab study published in Experimental and Clinical Psychopharmacology, men were given alcohol to raise their blood alcohol concentration, or BAC, to around 0.1%. That's about 5 drinks in a couple of hours. They were then shown erotic content and told to get aroused. What happened? Compared to sober men, their erections were weaker, 29% versus 35% penile circumference increase. Not a subtle difference. And this is important. They reported feeling just as aroused. Their brain was saying yes, their body not so much. Alcohol numbs nerves, slows signals, and reduces blood flow. All essential for strong arousal. In terms of our earlier analogy, the router is still on, but the signal's glitching. Your body can't connect. Another study from the American Journal of Men's Health in 2008 looked at men during the descending limb of intoxication, after their peak BAC. These men also showed reduced erectile response. Interestingly, those told to suppress arousal actually did better than those trying to maximize it. Bottom line, high intoxication tends to blunt male performance, even if desire feels high. Now let's talk women. A 2011 study in hormones and behavior tested women at both moderate and high alcohol doses. At a BAC of 0.06%, roughly 1 to 2 drinks, there was no measurable difference in vaginal blood flow or self-reported arousal. But at 0.1%, women's genital response dropped significantly. Vaginal pulse amplitude, a measure of physical arousal, was cut in half. Just like men, they still felt aroused. Now here's where it gets nuanced. In men, alcohol may temporarily increase libido. That is subjective sexual interest, even as physical performance drops. You feel confident, you feel ready, but the signal is scrambled. In women, low to moderate alcohol intake seems to increase libido even more strongly. Multiple studies show women report higher sexual desire after light drinking. That might be due to disinhibition, dopamine spikes, or social context. But again, and this is the key, desire does not equal arousal. At high doses, women's physical arousal also collapses. The signal starts strong, but the Wi-Fi fails again. So whether you're straight, gay, bi, the hardware doesn't matter. Alcohol affects the wiring itself. Let's zoom out now to the long term. What happens when alcohol isn't just an occasional indulgence, but a habit? Spoiler, the damage goes far beyond a single bad night. In men, chronic alcohol use is a major driver of sexual dysfunction. A 2007 study in the Indian Journal of Psychiatry found that 72% of alcoholic men had problems, including premature ejaculation, erectile dysfunction, and low libido. That's almost 3 out of 4 men. And a 2022 study in Addiction and Health found similarly grim results. Among 100 alcoholic men, 1/3 had trouble getting erections, another third had trouble keeping them, and over a third had hypoactive libido or orgasm difficulty. Why does this happen? Alcohol lowers testosterone, damages blood vessels, and degrades nerve endings, especially those in the penis. Over time, libido itself fades. The desire that once increased with a drink now disappears entirely. And in women, the picture looks different, but just as serious. In 2017, the Asian Journal of Psychiatry found that 55% of alcoholic women had sexual dysfunction. The most common complaints, low desire and orgasm difficulty. Compared to sober women, drinkers reported significantly lower satisfaction, lubrication, and physical pleasure. And then in 2023, a BMC Women's Health meta-analysis of over 50,000 women found that alcohol drinkers had a 74% higher risk of sexual dysfunction. That's a huge jump, and it means this isn't anecdotal, it's biological. Chronic alcohol use also wrecks mental health, depression, anxiety, sleep issues, all of which further suppress libido. And let's not forget relationship dynamics. Alcohol problems often lead to conflict, withdrawal, or poor communication, intimacy killers in any relationship. If acute drinking is like splashing wine on your router, chronic drinking is like corroding the whole motherboard. So let's break down the differences and similarities between how alcohol affects men and women. In the short term, both men and women show a fascinating disconnect. The brain says yes, but the body says no. Physical arousal drops even when desire is high, but the libido curve is different. In men, libido may initially increase at low doses, thanks to disinhibition and reduced anxiety, but performance drops immediately, and libido often declines with chronic use. Think of it as a short-term confidence spike followed by a long-term collapse. In women, light drinking more consistently increases sexual interest. Surveys report higher spontaneous desire, more flirtation, and even more willingness to engage. But once BAC gets too high or drinking becomes routine, desire drops and dysfunction rises. There are also biological differences in how alcohol is processed. Women typically reach higher BACs than men with the same amount of alcohol due to lower body water. This means impairment shows up faster in women, even at similar drink amounts. And importantly, sexual orientation doesn't change the biology. Whether you're a lesbian woman, gay man, or bisexual, the physiological impact on genital arousal and nerve signaling is the same. Where differences arises in the social dynamics or emotional context, not blood flow or neurotransmitters. Now let's talk strategy. Is any alcohol safe for your sex life? For men, a 2021 meta-analysis in Urology International found a J-shaped curve. Light to moderate drinkers, that's 1 to 2 drinks, had a slightly lower risk of erectile dysfunction than abstainers, possibly due to stress reduction or improved circulation. But the benefit stops there. Once drinking becomes heavy or frequent, ED risk spikes fast. For women, the story is more cautionary. The 2023 meta-analysis showed that any level of regular alcohol use raised dysfunction risk. There was no safe benefit zone. Even moderate drinking pushed risk upward. And binge drinking, 4 or more drinks in one sitting, reliably impairs arousal and satisfaction in both sexes. And one interesting footnote, a 2009 study in the Journal of Sexual Medicine found that older women who drink moderate red wine, that's 1 to 2 glasses per day, reported better sexual function. Researchers think it's the antioxidants, not the alcohol, that help the blood flow. Still, that benefit disappears fast if you go beyond a drink or two. So here's the science-backed guideline. Women, no more than 1 drink per day. Men, no more than 2 drinks per day. Avoid alcohol before sex if you want full arousal, and never binge drink if you care about libido or performance. Now let's bring it home with 5 simple truths. 1. Alcohol blunts physical arousal even when desire is high. It creates a disconnect between mind and body, like a Wi-Fi signal that won't load. 3rd, low doses may briefly boost libido, especially in women, but high doses impair performance. 4th, chronic drinking causes long-term dysfunction in both men and women. And lastly, staying within 1 to 2 drinks max and avoiding sex while intoxicated helps protect your sexual health. So next time someone says alcohol is an aphrodisiac, remember, you're basically throwing tequila in your router and expecting a stronger signal. It might feel fun in the moment, but eventually the whole system crashes. As always, I hope you enjoyed the content, and I look forward to seeing the next one. Thank you.